What's going on, guys? My name's Dean, or as most of you know me, Twisty, and today we're going to be talking you through my 5 favourite moments, or top moments, of the AFL season. But first, let's have a look back at some of the things that I learned in the first 5 things video we actually did, which was 5 things I learned this season. So let's revisit that. Now, it's been a crazy season. Everything's happened, nothing has happened. And the first thing I've learned is that absolutely anything can happen in September. I said that anything can happen in September, and the Tigers won the flag. Mind blown. Now, without harping on too much about the other things, let's get stuck in to this top 5 of my favourite moments of the season. Number 1, this is actually a top 5 this time. This isn't just a random 5 things order either. This one is a top 5. So let's begin with number 5, and it is the West Coast Eagles. Now, West Coast had the most unbelievable finish to the season. Now, while the Eagles got absolutely belted in the first semi-final, they had a pretty damn good run to get there. And round 23, when they magically knocked off Adelaide by a spectacular number of points, they made the 8 by 0.5%. I mean, we always thought this year was going to be close, and we always thought that a team would miss out on the 8 by percentage, but not by this much. That live ladder in this corner of the screen, or maybe it was this one, I'm not too sure, but that live ladder in the last quarter when the team and the match was on the line, gee, they had an interesting finish there. But not only that, they didn't just make the 8 by 0.5%, but then they went on to knock off Port Adelaide in extra time. Like, seriously, you have the draw where really they should have won it in regulation time. Then Port Adelaide had all this momentum in extra time. We're up by 15 points or 13 points or something, and then all of a sudden, you know, they just stuck with them. They kicked another one. They kicked another one, and then Luke Shuey, after the final deadline siren, kicks the winning goal. It was just one of the most unbelievable seasons that you would have ever seen from a side to magic, like, just to have so much go right for them to this point. And then obviously we know they got flogged, but who cares about that one? How good were those last 2 matches? So West Coast, thank you for providing some entertainment throughout the final series when no one else really did. Number 2, or number 4, because remember, this is a count up or whatever. The unbelievable upset. There was some pretty big upsets this year. We saw Carlton beat GWS a while back. We even saw Hawthorn beat Adelaide when it was 1st versus 17th or something ridiculous like that. We saw the Swans, who were 0-6, just come back into the fold and eventually got knocked out in the semi-final. Even Hawthorn again, they beat Sydney, who no one really saw that one coming, and they just absolutely knocked them off. And of course, Richmond, just being Richmond. There's always a few good upsets for the season, but this season, because it was extra close, you know, we just saw some crazy. Even North Melbourne beating Adelaide by 10 goals at quarter time, an unbelievable upset. Even St Kilda, when they were beating Richmond by 82 points at halftime, unbelievable upset. There were just some moments this season when you just thought, this just goes against everything else that's happened for the year. And we saw some of those fantastic moments. So to the teams that got upset wins this year, thank you as well for providing entertainment. Number 3, Richmond's road to the grand final. The Tigers. What a crazy story for the Tigers this season. They came from 13, then they rose up into the top 4, got absolutely flogged by the Saints, and everyone said, they're done. They cannot win, and they're no good. And then they go down a little bit and then slowly work their way back into that top 4 very soon after. Only losing 1 game, I think, after that point in the season, after losing to the Saints. I think they only lost to Geelong over in Geelong. And then, of course, the finals began. The Tigers at the MCG knocked off the Cats. It was almost disbelief as a supporter to go, okay, we're in the prelim. Because I'm so not used to it. It's never happened before. And then we play the Giants in the prelim. Brett Delidio's first game against the Tigers, he's 200th or 250th, I think 250th. And you just go, this is all set up for Brett Delidio to just murder Richmond at the last gasp. And then the Tigers just kicked away and away and away and away, and we saw it. The premiership quarter, the 3rd term in the final series, Richmond belted every side, but we just saw Richmond, they just powered away and they made it through to the grand final, and I was in disbelief. Number 2, the frenetic finishes. Now, we did have some close games this season. We had the upsets, but nothing beat the last-second finishing moves that some sides managed to pull off. We saw 5 games decided after the siren this year. Gary Rowan beat Essendon. Tom Hawkins drew the game against GWS. McGovern drew the game against Collingwood. Who else? David Mundy beat the Tigers. And of course, the Luke Shuey won in the extra time. Even in the VFL, Ben Lennon had the chance to win the game after the siren, and he couldn't quite live up to the expectation of the kick. The pressure was just too much for him. You know, we saw 3 draws this season. 2 of those decided after the siren, as I said, and one of those with a miraculous bounce over the head of Heath Shaw. I think one of the biggest moments that everyone will remember is Port Adelaide's comeback. 10 points down with a minute to go. They kicked the first one through Young, and then the Robbie Gray goal from the Patrick Ryder tap was just superb. Like, Ryder just went up, over the back, Robbie Gray ran under it, sinks the Saints and their season. So they were cooked at that point. Had they won that, they would have actually given themselves a live chance in round 23. You know, not only did we see those super close games, but we saw the comebacks. Richmond came back against the D's from 21 points down. Brisbane kicked 6 of the last 7 goals to down Essendon. There are a number of sides that just came back at the right moment. North Melbourne, I think, were involved in 3 or 4 comebacks where they were about 30-something points up and just absolutely buggered it up at some point. And once again, it was a season where it was super close. Every single one of these games mattered as to where teams finished. And in the end result, the top 4 ended up being the last 4. So, what a year. And that brings us to the number 1 moment. Richmond winning the premiership. I don't know how I could have pictured this season any better. I don't think I ever thought until like grand final week, we can win this. I mean, every year I look through the fixture and I go, Richmond's gonna win about 17 or 18 games, and it wasn't far off the money. We won 15, 18 if you include the 3 finals. We had an average winning margin in the final series of 45 points. What the hell? It sunk in when we went to the B&F on the Monday night of, on the Monday after the grand final, when I went to the best and fairest. That's when it finally sunk in. And we were sitting there in you know, Crown or whatever. And I was sitting there and they just kept replaying footage. They bring the cup in and they go, Richmond are the premiers. And I go, what? It happened. It was real. It was the most crazy thing. Obviously, you guys saw the video where there was just unbelievable scenes in the streets on Swan Street. I think Bridge Road might have been in a very similar fashion where there was just people absolutely everywhere. And we only saw a snippet of it. We'd walked barely into the street. There was at least another 700, there was at least a K down the road still full of people. There could have at least been 30 to 40,000 people on the streets. You just wouldn't have seen it. One of my mates likened it to something he saw when he was in France and they had like the champions, like one of those European soccer championships going on, and he said this is very similar to that. I mean, there's no flares, but there's just crazy people being ecstatic. It was one of the most incredible things to be a part of, and I wish everyone, when their team does win the flag, to experience everything you possibly can, because it's awesome. It's crazy. I love it. You'll love it. And Mr. Brightside is clearly the anthem of Richmond's year. Like, what a season. Anyway, I think I've rambled on a bit too much about the Tigers. Let me know in the comments section below your 5 favourite moments of the season. Leave them down below. Make sure you leave a thumbs up and leave notifications on so you don't miss anything while I'm away. But thank you guys so much for watching. But this AFL season's been fantastic. The Tigers won the flag. This is the last time I'm going to speak about it, I swear. And I'll see you guys later.